One of Nintendo's strangest creations was the e-reader. This is an accessory for the Game Boy Advance that could scan special cards with dot codes on them to unlock games, applications, and the Stone Age's equivalent to downloadable content. Consider it the predecessor to Amiibo. When I got my Game Boy Advance as a kid, an e-reader was bundled with it. And I've always found it underwhelming. Like, yeah, it's a technological achievement to put an entire NES game's code on a strip of paper, but it feels so impractical to carry around. This is not how God wanted mankind to play pinball. About a dozen NES games made their way onto this thing, and if you've ever wanted a list of Nintendo's first-party C-listers, this is it. I mean, there's good times to be had with these games, but if Nintendo distributed them today, I wouldn't be popping off my seat. Donkey Kong Jr. was the pack-in title, and it takes 5 minutes to beat. Probably one of the weaker choices to include, but I do have nostalgia thinking about it, and this might actually be the first video game I ever completed. One of my favorite books to flip through was this catalog promoting Nintendo's holiday lineup in 2003, and it shows off nearly everything that exists for the e-reader. Like Animal Crossing surprisingly dove headfirst into the peripheral, 4 series of cards are advertised here, like that's a normal thing to do with a brand new IP. And while I had no clue what Animal Crossing was, it didn't stop me from judging villagers for being ugly. Unlike the NES cards, these require additional hardware to use, namely a GameCube link cable, and a copy of Animal Crossing. And a lot to ask for from a piece of paper, so the goodies you unlock from scanning them's gotta be worth it, right? I paid $10 for this. Game & Watch was supposed to get more than 25 cards, but all with the exception of one were cancelled because the e-reader flopped in sales. And while I'm not the biggest advocate for the e-reader, this is a set I'd see myself owning just for the novelty of them existing. Game & Watch games rarely get re-released. The only instances I can recall are the Game & Watch Gallery games and some keychains that were turned out in the late 90s, DSiWare and a few Club Nintendo rewards a decade later, and the 35th anniversary Game & Watches for Mario and Zelda yet another decade later. Pokemon was a huge supporter of the e-reader. Their trading cards from this period have dot codes on them, and scanning one will display a Pokédex blurb along with a few other notes. Some cards have a second strip, which unlocks games, animations, and tools to use in TCG. There aren't very many of these I can show off because they released right when my parents stopped buying cards for me, and with the Pokemon card economy booming afterwards, I'd have to sell along to play some of them. It doesn't help that most of these require 2 or more cards, but hey, I did donate an organ to afford the poor man's version of Robot Unicorn Attack, which is free to play. Pokemon on the e-reader doesn't end with the trading cards. Ruby and Sapphire got a whole series of their own with Battle E. I've already covered these in my Pokemon Sapphire retrospective, but there's 2 types of cards. Trainers and berries. If a trainer is scanned, they'll appear in a house where you can battle them 3-on-3, and the berries are one-time use items that have higher stats than any other berry when they're turned into Pokeblocks. It may sound like good content, but the battles don't offer any experience or rewards, and while the berries are nice, their lower stat substitutes get the job done. And like Animal Crossing, you have to assemble multiple consoles to even use them. 2 Game Boy Advances are required this time, one to scan the cards, and the other to inject the data onto the cartridge. So not only are the benefits of the cards negligible, but you had to either wrangle another person with a Game Boy or be a loser Nintendo fanboy with 5. One of the most sought after cards is the Eon Ticket. This one unlocks the opportunity to catch the legendary Pokemon Latios or Latios depending on your game, but the card was not so easily obtainable. You either had to attend E3 2003, subscribe to Nintendo Power, or walk into Toys R Us on a specific day at select stores, and why the hell were none of them in Minnesota? You know, Mario was dipping his toes into the e-reader too. Super Mario Advance 4 made some cards, and once again you need 2 Game Boys, but this time the content is worth the effort. Brand new levels can be unlocked, and these are some of the most difficult in the franchise. Item cards load power-ups onto your file, and the great part about them is they have unlimited uses. I don't care if it's cheating, look at this! And there's one more type of card, the demo card. Scan one of these, and the game will show you how to unlock secret toad houses and what levels you can play to earn a bunch of lives. It's definitely the weakest part of the collection, but as a package, Super Mario Advance 4's e-reader support does exactly what I wanted to do. And an interesting side note for me is that I got Pokemon Sapphire and Super Mario Advance 4 with my Game Boy Advance along with these cards. Like, my parents knew Mario, Pokemon, and Pokemon cards were my thing at the time, but it's weird to think that maybe they chose these games because of the e-reader and not the other way around. It's definitely possible that if this tumor didn't exist, Pokemon Sapphire wouldn't be my favorite video game. Alright, enough stalling. This is what you're here for. Mario Party E. Definitely the most ambitious use of the e-reader. Every other card I've talked about is essentially floss. They're important for the dot code, and that's it. Scan it, clean your teeth, put it away. Like, the cards have art and maybe trivia or instructions on them, but psychopathically speaking, they only have one purpose. Get you the content. But where Mario Party E sets itself apart is that the card's ability to scan is only a fraction of what they're capable of. Why did I make them sound like demigods? Mario Party E is a card game. Bring it to game night, play it in the car. This box has everything you need. No booster packs, no deck building. It's basically Uno. Chances are you've never heard of this, and if you have, it's because you look at Mario Party tier lists, and that means you know this game lives rent-free in the never played tier. Now don't be mistaken, this ain't your grandma's Mario Party. The objective is not to collect coins and buy stars. No, no, no. Your goal is to acquire Mario's clothes. Literally get in his pants. It actually plays very similarly to the Mario parties of yore, and that's really surprising. You're not running around a board, but you're still playing items and destroying friendships. It's a pretty simple game. 2 to 4 people can play, and everybody is dealt 5 cards. From there, you take turns playing one card and drawing another, all with the intention of dripping out. To be serious for a moment, just so I can explain the rules, your goal is to have all 3 of Mario's clothing items in play, and then summon a superstar. But doing that is easier said than done, because there's only as many of these cards as there are players. So if there's 2 of us playing, and I have both shoes, and you have both hats, one of us has to die. So let's go over the types of cards that resolve these skirmishes. Coins are the most common, and as you'd expect, this is currency. Having overalls in your hand isn't enough. You gotta spend 2 coins to play it, which means 2 turns have to be used filling your bank. Swag may be the end goal, but as society has taught us, capitalism trumps all. While it's important to save for clothes, coins can be redeemed on a bunch of other cards, so it's important to balance your balance. Search cards are marked with this finger icon, and their purpose is to let you dig around the deck or discard pile to exchange with your hand. Both of the Peach cards are essentially a free superstar card, but a Daisy under the right circumstances could be more powerful. Lakitu is conceptually the weakest, but it will save you a few turns of not having to play coins. Next are the Chaos cards, who all with the exception of one are free to play. Some let you take cards from your opponents, some let you trade, and there's a couple that let you shuffle your hand with other players. The important thing to note is that you can't look at their hands, but man, will you feel hot playing a shy guy and walking away with your homie's Air Force Ones. Want to prevent that from happening? Get yourself a blocker card. It's the equivalent to boo repellent, and it only costs 1 coin. These will protect your bank and clothes from 1 personal attack. But if you want to be a real dick, you can spend 2 coins for the power to look in someone's hand and trade a card, or just take the shirt off their back. Without a doubt, blockers are the strongest cards and are unquestionably responsible for at least 1 homicide. Not that I would know. I should also point out that the superstar cards have the same function of being able to yoink clothing when they aren't used to win, which means games are a lot more fluid than you'd expect. The last cards to cover activate duels, and depending on the card, different items are wagered. With Boo, both players submit their coins for a winner-take-all, and with Wario, it's with 1 clothing item of each player's choice. But if you're really greedy, Super Wario makes players bet all of their clothes. Now we just need a variant for House Deeds. The other 2 duels act a little differently. If whoever played the card wins, they can look at the loser's hand and trade cards. But if they lose, nothing happens. Now I suppose you're wondering how a duel is settled. Coin flip. It's a coin flip. But if you have a Game Boy Advance and an e-reader, these cards can be scanned to play a minigame. Mario Party E has 11 cards with dot codes on them, and the way they're handled is kinda weird. Duels make sense because they're an alternative to luck, but if you look at the search cards, they're labeled as free challenges. All this means is that if you want to play the card but don't have enough coins, you can play the minigame, but only if you don't have enough coins. There's also 2 cards with the Wonder Challenge moniker. Lakitu normally lets you withdraw 3 coins from the trash, but if you want to risk taking fewer or even having to throw away one of your articles of clothing for a better prize, you can play Lakitu's luck for that opportunity. The Bowser card acts similarly, but the options are to make everyone discard their coins, or play Spinister Bowser to potentially burn everybody's clothes, or rotate some variant of cards to the left or right. Definitely a Hail Mary card, but one in the spirit of Mario Party. To assess the remaining mini-games, let's return to the duels, since I mentioned those first. Balloon Burst is a game of chicken. Don't be the one to pop it. If you play this card, you might as well flip a coin, since both players will inevitably be tapping the button for a frame until the game decides a loser. Wario's Bluff is the same type of game, but relies more on timing. You're supposed to accelerate, then slam on the brakes to stop as close to the cliff as possible, but you can ignore that and slowly drive up to the edge like a filthy cheater. Bullet from Boo starts with the player looking at Boo. Mash A to run away, but make sure to take breaks because Boo will catch up. The faster player to escape wins. Time Bomb Ticks has a grid of 16 numbers that each player needs to press in order, with the quicker one winning, but a neat aesthetic to this game is that player 1 is setting the timer while player 2 is defusing it. And the last duel is my favorite in the game, Waluigi's Reign. Both players get 20 seconds to collect as many coins as they can, all while avoiding hammers, which will instantly end your run. To go over the free challenge minigames, these are single player, and for how worthless they are to the actual game, some of them are incredibly difficult. Daisy's Rodeo is a 10-second quick time event gauntlet where the game will constantly display buttons you need to press. Mess up twice in a row and you'll lose. The timing is so strict that the only way I beat it was to button mash, and even though the manual never mentions it, mashing might be part of the game since sometimes my inputs would shrink the button graphic, which I assume means I need to press it again. Even with that knowledge, winning the game is still tough. Mario's Mallet is also pretty challenging. You have to bonk a random number of Goombas leaving a pipe, and once again the window to react is very tight. But it's the addition of Luigi who will trick you that makes this so hard because now you need to hesitate every round. Castaway Mario is a lot easier since it's just timing, but it's a game you'll need to practice round or two to get a feel for the intense Game Boy water physics. And closing out the bunch is Fast Feed Yoshi, the obligatory luck game. What's most surprising about these mini games is the difficulty. If you want instructions or tips, you gotta open up the manual. And even with it, there's no way to ease yourself in. I played a couple of rounds with 2 people to prepare for this video, and whenever we played a mini game, we were doing best of 3 because they all just thrust you into the action. I gotta be honest, I think Mario Party E is better without the minigames. Repairing the Game Boy each time and doing multiple rounds because of the poor rules isn't worth the effort. If the duels have to turn into chance time, that's a change for the better. Like I said, this is a fluid game. So many cards have the potential to flip things around without feeling overbearing. Nobody should ever feel safe about their position, and that's an impressive feat for a card game. Every card is always in play. It doesn't matter if it's in your hand or your opponent's hand, the deck or the discard pile. At any point, someone can steal a card from any of these locations to improve their odds or worsen someone else's. Like, it's insane. This game simulates what it's like to live in Baltimore. I've only played Mario Party E a dozen times, but every game has been fun and hectic. And on top of that, you can add house rules to the game. Create your own duels, make your own cards. And if you want to get real frisky with the house rules, why not play Strip Mario Party E? Play a hat card, remove your hat. Play the overall card. Mario Party E may not be your ordinary Mario Party, but I think it shouldn't be overlooked. The game can cost $100 to own today, but if you get the opportunity to play a few rounds, I would recommend it. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a like to help the channel grow, and subscribe to get updates on my uploads as soon as they happen. But until then, I will see you all next time.